August 9th, 1945. Mauka, Karafuto, southern Sakhalin Island. 3:47 a.m. The explosions wake me before the sirens. Artillery. Close. Too close. The windows rattle. Plaster dust falls from the ceiling like snow. I sit up in bed, heart pounding, trying to understand what's happening. Then the sirens. Air raid sirens screaming across Mauka. But we haven't had air raids here. Karafuto is too far north. The Americans bomb the home islands. Tokyo, Osaka, Hiroshima. Not here. Never here. I am Akiko Tanaka, 26 years old, elementary school teacher, born in Sapporo, Hokkaido, but I've lived in Karafuto for 3 years, teaching Japanese children in this frozen frontier. And in 3 minutes, my entire world will collapse. August 9th, 1945. The Soviets have invaded. Everyone said they wouldn't. The neutrality pact, the assurances, all lies. They're here. They're coming, and I don't know if I'll survive the day. This is the story no one tells, when the liberators were more terrifying than defeat. Subscribe to hear the uncomfortable truths of Wofo, like if you want the full picture, not just the victory narrative. Comment. Did you know about the Soviet invasion of Japanese territories? History is more complex than we're taught. Karafuto, southern Sakhalin Island, a cold, isolated place where Japan and the Soviet Union share an uneasy border at the 50th parallel. We're the southernmost part of this island, Japanese territory since 1905. The Soviets control the north. But we have a neutrality pact, signed in 1941, 5-year agreement. We thought we were safe here, far from the American bombers devastating the home islands, far from the fighting, just a quiet frontier town where fishermen, coal miners, and teachers like me live ordinary lives while the empire crumbles elsewhere. We were wrong. I dress quickly. Traditional Monpei work pants. All women wear them now, practical for war work or running to shelters. A simple blouse, hair tied back. I grab my emergency bag. Every household has one. Rice balls, water canteen, first aid supplies, important documents, photographs of my family in Hokkaido. Outside, the streets are chaos. People running, screaming, artillery shells exploding in the distance. The harbor. They're shelling the harbor. My neighbor, Takahashi-san, runs past. He's 56, a postal clerk. The Soviets! He shouts. The Soviets have crossed the border. They're attacking everywhere. Manchuria, Korea, and here. They've broken the pact. The Soviets. The Soviet Red Army. Fear cuts through me like ice. We've heard stories. Whispers from refugees who escape Manchuria. Stories about what Soviet soldiers do, especially to women. Where do we go? I ask. The school. The garrison commander says civilians should gather at the school. The army will defend the town. The Imperial Japanese Army. We have maybe 4,000 soldiers here. Border guards. Nothing compared to what's fighting on the home islands. And the Soviets, how many do they have? I run toward the school. My school, where I teach 8-year-olds to read and write. Now it's a gathering point for terrified civilians. The streets are packed, families with children, elderly people being helped by neighbors, everyone moving in the same direction, away from the harbor where artillery shells keep falling. I see Yamamoto-sensei, the principal. He's trying to organize people. Women and children inside. Men, the army needs you to help build defenses. What's happening? I ask him. His face is gray. Soviet forces crossed the border at midnight. Thousands of them. Tanks. Artillery. They're overwhelming our positions. We weren't prepared. No one thought... He stops. Get inside, Akiko-sensei. Stay away from windows. Inside the school, hundreds of civilians crowd into classrooms and hallways. Mothers holding babies. Children crying. Old people sitting on the floor, stunned. I find a space in my own classroom. First grade. Little desks, drawings on the walls. Yesterday I was teaching these children kanji characters. Today I'm huddling with their mothers, listening to artillery get closer. A young mother sits next to me. She's maybe 22, holding an infant. What will they do to us? She whispers. The army will protect us, I say, but I don't believe it. And neither does she. I heard stories, she continues, voice shaking. From Manchuria, what Soviet soldiers do to women, to girls, even to... She looks at her baby. A little girl, 6 months old. I've heard the stories too. Everyone has. Refugees from Japanese-controlled Manchuria, fleeing the Soviet advance. They spoke of mass rapes, brutality, villages destroyed, women killing themselves rather than face capture. The government called it propaganda, enemy lies to frighten us. But the refugees weren't lying. Their eyes weren't lying. We'll be safe here, I tell her, trying to convince myself. The army won't let them reach the town. The artillery continues. Closer now. I can hear small arms fire, machine guns. The battle is coming to Maoka. By noon, we hear the truth. A Japanese soldier, wounded, evacuated to the school. He tells us between gasps of pain. They broke through. Tanks. So many tanks. We can't stop them. The 88th Division is retreating. They're coming to Maoka. The 88th Division. Our defenders. Retreating. Panic spreads through the school like fire. Women screaming. Children wailing. Old men trying to maintain order and failing. Yamamoto-sensei climbs on a desk. Listen! Everyone listen! The garrison commander says we must evacuate. Ships are being prepared at the southern port. Women, children, and elderly first. We're evacuating to Hokkaido. Hokkaido, the home islands. Safety. But the southern port is 5 kilometers away, and the Soviets are coming. We leave immediately! Yamamoto-sensei shouts. Take only what you can carry! Stay together! Move quickly! The evacuation is chaos. Hundreds of people streaming out of the school, heading south toward the port. I help elderly neighbors. Carry children who can't keep up. Around us, the town burns. Soviet artillery has set buildings ablaze. Smoke fills the air. We're a kilometer from the school when we hear them. Engines. Heavy engines. Tanks. Soviet T-34 tanks roll into Maoka from the north. Behind them, trucks filled with soldiers. Red Army soldiers. Wearing those distinctive uniforms. Carrying rifles. Everyone runs. Pure panic. Mothers grabbing children. People dropping belongings. Running for their lives. I run with them. My lungs burning. My legs screaming. Behind us, gunfire. Are they shooting at us? At fleeing civilians? We reach a residential area. Some people hide in houses. Others keep running. I don't know what to do. Keep running or hide. An older woman, Sato-san, grabs my arm. Here, in my house. Hide. We run into her house. 6 of us. Sato-san, myself, the young mother with her baby, and 2 teenage girls. Sisters. Maybe 15 and 17 years old. We barricade the door. Close the shutters. Sit in the dark, trying not to breathe too loudly. Outside, we hear them. Soviet soldiers. Shouting in Russian. Boots on pavement. Breaking glass. Doors being kicked in. Screams. Women's screams. The young mother holds her baby so tight the infant can't cry. The 2 teenage sisters cling to each other. Sato-san prays quietly. Buddhist sutras. Whispered prayers for protection. I close my eyes and think of my family. My parents in Sapporo. My younger brother conscripted into the army, fighting somewhere on the home islands. Do they know what's happening here? Does anyone know? The footsteps get closer, house by house. They're searching houses. They'll find us, one of the teenage girls whispers. They'll find us and... Quiet, Sato-san hisses. Not a sound, but she's right. They will find us. It's only a matter of time. A door crashes open, 2 houses down. A woman screams. Then multiple voices. Men shouting in Russian. The woman screaming. Then, other sounds. Terrible sounds. The sounds of violence. The young mother starts crying silently, tears streaming down her face. Her baby, somehow sensing the danger, stays quiet. Our door shakes. Someone trying the handle, then pounding, shouting in Russian. More pounding. The door breaks open. Splinters. The barricade collapses. Soviet soldiers. 3 of them. Young men. Maybe 20, 25 years old. Dirty uniforms. Unshaven. Rifles slung over shoulders. They see us. 6 Japanese women, huddled in the dark. One soldier grins. says something in Russian. The others laugh. I don't speak Russian, but I understand the tone. The look in their eyes. Sato-san stands. Please, she says in Japanese. Bowing. Deep, desperate bows. Please. We are civilians. We are not soldiers. Please. One soldier pushes her aside. She falls. The soldier moves toward the teenage girls. The older sister screams. The soldier grabs her. She fights. He hits her. Hard, across the face. She falls. I move without thinking. Grab his arm. Stop, she's a child. He turns to me, and I see it. The coldness. The emptiness. He doesn't see me as human, just as something to take. He pushes me against the wall, his hand on my throat, the other hand tearing at my clothes. This is it. This is how I die, or how I'm destroyed before I die. Then shouting. More Russian. Outside. Urgent. The soldier stops, listens. One of his companions runs to the door, shouts back, seems to be arguing with someone outside. My attacker releases me, shouts at his companions. They argue. Then, suddenly, they leave. Running. Back into the street. We sit in shocked silence. What just happened? Why did they leave? Outside, more sounds. Different sounds. Not celebration. Not the sounds of conquest. Sounds of confusion. Retreat? I go to the window. Peer through the broken shutter. Soviet soldiers are pulling back. Retreating north. Quickly. Not casual withdrawal. Urgent retreat. What's happening? The young mother asks. I don't know. They're leaving, going back north. We wait in the house for hours. Too terrified to leave. Too traumatized to move. The teenage girl who was hit sits in the corner, face swelling, crying silently. Her sister holds her. At dusk, we hear Japanese voices. Soldiers calling out in Japanese. Civilians, if you're hiding, it's safe. Japanese forces have retaken the town. Come out. We emerge cautiously. The street is destroyed. Buildings burned. Bodies. Japanese civilians. Dead. Killed by artillery or by Soviet soldiers. And women. Women sitting in the street. Torn clothes. Blank faces. Destroyed. The young mother clutches her baby and weeps. A Japanese officer, captain's insignia, approaches us. Are you injured? No. I lie. We're all injured. Just not physically. Not in ways that show. The Soviets withdrew, the captain says. We don't know why. Maybe orders to consolidate forces. But they'll be back. Stronger. We can't hold this town. You must evacuate. Ships are leaving from the southern port. Go now. What about you? I ask. The soldiers? We'll hold as long as we can. Buy time for civilian evacuation. But you must go. Now. We walk to the southern port. Thousands of civilians streaming in the same direction. The entire population of Myoka, fleeing. The port is chaos. 3 ships, small vessels, not nearly enough for everyone. People pushing, fighting to get aboard. Japanese soldiers trying to maintain order. Women, children, and elderly first, wounded second. Men of military age must stay and fight. The young mother with the baby boards. The 2 teenage sisters. Sato-san. One by one they get on a ship. My turn. I'm at the gangplank, about to board. Then I hear it. Engines again. From the north, the Soviets. Coming back. Artillery shells start falling. The port. They're targeting the port. The ships. One shell hits the dock. Splinters fly. People scream. Fall into the water. The captain grabs a megaphone. Ships must leave now. Now! Cast off! But there are still people! Someone shouts. If we wait, everyone dies. Cast off! The ships pull away. Hundreds of people still on the dock. Thousands in the town. Left behind. I'm on the dock. I didn't make it aboard. The ships are leaving, and the Soviets are coming back. I run. Away from the port. Away from the artillery. Into the town. Into the hills beyond. Others run with me. Maybe 200 of us, fleeing into the wilderness, into the forests of southern Karafuto. We're refugees now. Homeless. Hunted. We hide in the forest for 3 days. No food. Little water. Listening to Myoka burn. listening to gunfire as the Japanese forces make their last stand. On August 12th, the gunfire stops. Maoka falls. The Soviets control the town, control the port, control southern Karafuto. We're trapped. Can't go back to town. Soviet soldiers are there. Can't escape by sea. The ships are gone. Can't walk to Hokkaido. It's across the sea. Can't go north. That's Soviet territory. We're caught between Soviet occupation and the wilderness. Survival means hiding, hoping, praying someone comes to rescue us. On August 15th, someone in our group has a portable radio. We listen to the Emperor's broadcast. His voice, tinny and distant, speaking in formal classical Japanese most of us barely understand, but we understand enough. Japan has surrendered. The war is over. We've lost. But for us, the war isn't over. We're still trapped, still hiding, and the Soviet soldiers are still hunting for Japanese civilians. August 16th, a Soviet patrol finds us. 20 soldiers. We're rounded up, forced to march back to Maoka. The town is destroyed, burned, bodies still in the streets. Soviet flags flying over Japanese buildings. They herd us, about 180 civilians, into a warehouse near the port. No explanation. No food, no water. Just locked in and left. We're prisoners now. Civilian prisoners of the Soviet Union. Women whisper about what's coming. The soldiers outside. We've heard their voices. Drunk. Celebrating. Talking about Japanese women like we're war spoils. Night falls. The warehouse door opens. Soviet soldiers enter. 12 of them. Drunk. Carrying bottles of vodka. An officer says something in Russian. I don't understand the words, but I understand the meaning. They've come for the women, the older women, the mothers. They try to hide the young girls, push them to the back, but there's nowhere to hide. The warehouse is empty, just concrete and us. One soldier grabs a teenage girl. She screams. Her mother tries to stop him. He hits the mother, knocks her down, drags the girl toward the door. Other soldiers grab other women, younger women, girls, even children. I'm pulled from the group. A soldier. He's maybe 30. Scarred face. Dead eyes. He says something in Russian. Gestures toward the door. He's taking me outside. I know what he's going to do. I fight, kick, scream. He hits me. Hard. My vision blurs. He drags me outside. Into the night. Toward a destroyed building. This is where I die, or where something worse than death happens. Then sounds. Different sounds. Engines. Not Soviet engines. Different pitch. Higher. Faster. Jeeps. American jeeps. The soldier stops, turns, sees the jeeps coming, says something, cursing probably, lets go of me, runs. American vehicles roll into the port. Jeeps. Trucks. Marines. United States Marines. They're here, the Americans, the enemy we've feared our entire lives. The demon barbarians our government warned us about. They're here, and I'm terrified, because I've been told my entire life what Americans do to Japanese, how they'll rape women, torture civilians, kill everyone. I've escaped Soviet soldiers only to face American Marines, and I don't know which is worse. A Marine approaches, young, maybe 22. He sees me on the ground, bleeding, torn clothes. He says something in English. I don't speak English. I scramble back, trying to get away, expecting violence. He stops, raises his hands. Empty hands, no weapon drawn. He says something else, slowly, gently. Then, in broken Japanese, not hurt, safe, not hurt. Not hurt? Safe? Is this a trick? He reaches slowly into his pocket. I flinch, but he pulls out a handkerchief, clean, white, offers it to me, for my bleeding lip, from where the Soviet soldier hit me. I stare at this American Marine, this enemy, offering me a handkerchief. Nothing makes sense anymore. Other Marines are entering the warehouse, shouting, not in anger, in command. Soviet soldiers are backing away, raising hands, surrendering. To Americans, a Marine officer, captain, I think, is arguing with a Soviet officer, shouting in English, the Soviet arguing back in Russian, neither understanding the other, but both understanding the situation. The American captain points to the warehouse, to us, to the Japanese civilians, then makes a firm gesture, universal language. These people are under American protection now, the Soviet officer argues. But more American vehicles arrive, more Marines, with weapons ready. Not pointed, but ready. The Soviets withdraw, angry, cursing, but they withdraw. The Americans secure the area, set up a perimeter. Medical personnel begin treating wounded civilians. American military doctors, with supplies, medicine, care. I sit against a wall trying to process what just happened. Soviet soldiers tried to rape me. American Marines stopped them. Everything I was taught is wrong. The Americans are supposed to be the monsters. The Soviets are supposed to be our fellow Asians, better than Western barbarians. But the Soviets destroyed Mauka, murdered civilians, raped women. While Americans, these Americans, are protecting us. A Navy corpsman approaches me. Medical insignia. He kneels, says something in English. I don't understand. He points to my lip. Bleeding. Asks permission. Actually asks permission to treat it. I nod, uncertain. He cleans the wound. Gentle, professional. Applies antiseptic. Bandage. The whole time, talking softly. I don't understand the words. But the tone is kind. Reassuring. Thank you, I say in Japanese. He smiles. You're welcome, he says in English. Then, carefully in Japanese, do itashimashite. He learned that, this American. He learned to say you're welcome in Japanese, for us. I start crying. Can't help it. Relief, confusion, trauma. Everything hitting at once. The corpsman doesn't leave. Just sits nearby, quietly, letting me cry. Offering silent support. Around me, other Americans are helping other civilians, giving food, water, medical care, speaking softly, moving slowly, trying not to frighten us. These are the enemies we feared. These are the barbarians our government warned about, and they're treating us better than our supposed liberators did. I don't understand. I don't understand anything anymore. But I'm alive, and for the first time in days, I feel safe, even though I'm surrounded by the enemy. August 17th, 1945. Mauka Port, Karafuto. Morning. I wake up in a tent, an American military tent, clean blankets, a cot, actual pillows. For a moment, I think I'm dreaming. Then I remember, the Soviets, the assault, the Marines arriving, everything. I sit up carefully. My body aches. Bruises from being dragged. My lip is bandaged. The corpsman treated it last night. Around me, other Japanese women sleep on cots. Maybe 20 of us. All the women they pulled from that warehouse. Outside the tent, I hear voices. American voices. Speaking English. And Japanese voices. Translation, I realize. They have translators. I step outside. The morning is cold. Karafuto is always cold, even in August. The port has been transformed. American tents everywhere. Vehicles. Soldiers moving with purpose. And in the center, a large tent with a Red Cross symbol. A young Japanese man approaches me. Maybe 30 years old. Civilian clothes. He bows slightly. Ohayo gozaimasu. Good morning. I'm Tanaka Hiroshi. I'm translating for the Americans. Are you injured? Do you need medical attention? Tanaka. My family name too. I'm Tanaka Akiko, a teacher. From Mauka. I don't know how to finish. I'm not injured. But I'm not okay. It's all right, he says gently. Many people are confused, traumatized. The Americans are organizing evacuation to Hokkaido. You'll be safe there. Why are the Americans here? I ask. This is Soviet territory now. Japan surrendered. Tanaka's face darkens. That's complicated. The Americans and Soviets are supposed to be allies. But there are tensions. The Americans found out what was happening here, to civilians, and they intervened. It's causing diplomatic problems, but they're insisting on evacuating Japanese civilians before they leave. They're leaving? Giving this place back to the Soviets? Yes, but not until all civilians who want to leave can leave. That's what the Marine captain said. We're not leaving anyone behind. Not leaving anyone behind. The Soviets left us behind. The Japanese military left us behind. But the Americans, our enemies, won't leave us behind. Nothing makes sense. A Marine approaches, the same one from last night. Young, maybe 22. He nods to me, then speaks to Tanaka in English. Tanaka translates. Corporal Wilson asks if you're feeling better this morning. He wants to know if you need anything, food, water, medical care. Tell him thank you. For last night. For helping me. Tanaka translates. Corporal Wilson smiles. Says something in English. Tanaka translates. He says you're welcome. He says no one should be treated the way the Soviets treated you. He says it's his duty to protect civilians. His duty, not his choice. His duty. This is what American soldiers are taught. To protect civilians. Even enemy civilians. I was taught Americans were demons, rapists, murderers. Every piece of propaganda, every government announcement, every teacher, they all said Americans would destroy us. And here's an American Marine, saying it's his duty to protect me. Please tell him I'm grateful, I say. Please tell him I was wrong about Americans. Corporal Wilson listens to the translation. His face shows something. Sadness, maybe. He says something in English. Tanaka hesitates before translating. He says, Americans were wrong about Japanese too. He says war makes everyone believe terrible things about each other. He says he's sorry for what happened to your country. An American soldier, apologizing to me for winning the war. I don't know what to say. August 18th, 1945. The Americans organize us. About 400 Japanese civilians they've gathered from Maoka and the surrounding areas. We're boarding American ships, LSTs, landing ship, tank, big flat vessels designed to carry tanks and troops. Now carrying Japanese refugees. I walk up the ramp with my small bag. Everything I own. A change of clothes. Some photographs. That's all. At the top of the ramp, an American sailor helps me aboard. Actually offers his hand. Helps me like I'm a person, not cargo. Thank you, I say in Japanese. You're welcome, ma'am, he says in English. He doesn't understand my words. I don't understand his. But we understand the meaning. The ship is crowded but organized. The Americans have set up areas for families, for women traveling alone, for elderly people. They've thought about our needs, our dignity. A female Navy nurse approaches me. Hello, she says in English. Then, through a translator, I'm Nurse Patterson. If you need anything, medical care, food, water, please find me or another nurse. We're here to help. A woman, an American woman, in uniform, a Navy nurse. I've never seen anything like it. Japanese women don't serve in the military, not in uniform, not with authority. You're a soldier? I ask through the translator. She smiles. A nurse. But yes, I serve in the Navy. We have many women serving. Nurses, administrators, communication specialists, women with authority, women with careers, women in the military. This is America? The ship departs Maoka at noon. I stand on deck, watching the coast disappear. That's Karafuto. Japanese territory for 40 years. Now Soviet territory. Forever, probably. I think about my school, my classroom, the children I taught. Where are they now? Dead? Evacuated? Prisoners? I think about the Japanese soldiers who stayed behind to defend the town. Are they dead? Prisoners? The Soviets don't treat prisoners well. Especially not Japanese prisoners. Penny for your thoughts? I turn. It's Corporal Wilson. He's standing nearby, not intruding. Just present. I don't understand the idiom. He seems to realize this. Says something else. The translator, Tanaka, is on this ship too. Approaches. He asks what you're thinking about. Tanaka translates. Home, I say. What I've lost. What happens now? Wilson listens to the translation. Nods. Says something in English. Tanaka translates. He says he understands. He says war takes everything from everyone. He says he hopes you can rebuild. Find peace. Do you have family? I ask Wilson through Tanaka. Wilson nods. Pulls out a wallet. Shows me a photograph. A young woman. Pretty. Smiling. My wife, Sarah, back in Ohio. I haven't seen her in 2 years. You must miss her. Every day. But I'll see her soon. The war's over. We're going home. Home. He has a home to return to. A wife. A life. What do I have? A country that's surrendered. A family I haven't heard from in weeks. A home that's now Soviet territory. What will you do? Wilson asks through Tanaka. After you reach Hokkaido. I don't know. Find my family if they're alive. Look for work. Try to survive. Wilson nods. Says something in English. Tanaka translates, looking uncomfortable. He says Americans will help. After the surrender, General MacArthur is planning reconstruction. Jobs, food, schools. He says it won't be easy, but Americans will help rebuild. Americans will help rebuild. The country they just defeated. The country they bombed. They're going to help us? Why? I ask. Why would Americans help us? We were your enemies. Wilson looks at me directly. Says something in English. Tanaka translates carefully. He says, because enemies in war don't have to be enemies forever. He says Americans want peace, want democracy, want Japan to recover. He says the best way to win peace is to help, not hurt. I don't believe him. It sounds too good. Too naive. Countries don't act that way. Winners don't help losers. They exploit them. Destroy them. Make sure they can never threaten you again. That's what Japan did in Korea, in Manchuria, in China. We conquered. We exploited. We destroyed. If the situations were reversed, if Japan had won, would we be helping American civilians? Or would we be treating them the way the Soviets treated us? I know the answer. And it shames me. August 20th, 1945. Hakodate, Hokkaido. The ship docks in Hakodate. Southern Hokkaido. Japanese home islands. Safety. Finally, American soldiers help us disembark. They've set up a processing station. Not a prison. A refugee center. With food. Medical care. Translation services. And they have lists. Lists of displaced persons. Lists of missing persons. Lists of survivors. I find the registration table. A Japanese official, working with the Americans, takes my information. Name? Tanaka Akiko. Born April 3, 1919, Sapporo. Family? Parents in Sapporo, Tanaka Kenji and Tanaka Yuki. Brother Tanaka Masaru conscripted into the army in 1944. I don't know where he's stationed. The official writes this down. We'll add you to the survivor lists. If your family searches for you, they'll find you. And we'll search for them. It may take time. The country is chaos right now. But we're documenting everyone. Thank you. He stamps my papers. You're free to go. There's a train to Sapporo leaving tomorrow morning. The Americans are providing free transport for displaced civilians. Food stations along the way. You can reach Sapporo in 2 days. Free transport. Free food. The Americans are doing this. I find temporary shelter in a school gymnasium converted to refugee housing. Hundreds of people here. From Karafuto. From Manchuria. From Korea. All Japanese civilians. All displaced by the Soviet invasion or the surrender. An old man sits next to me. He's from Manchuria. The Soviets. He says quietly. They destroyed everything. Villages. Cities. They killed civilians. Raped women. My daughter. His voice breaks. My daughter killed herself. Rather than face them. She was 16. 16. The age of my students. Children. I'm sorry. I whisper. The Americans stopped them. He continues. In some places, not everywhere. But where they could, they stopped them. Saved civilians. Like they saved you. Why? I ask. Why do Americans act this way? We were their enemies. The old man looks at me. Because they're not like the Soviets. Not like the Japanese military either. They have rules, laws, something called the Geneva Convention. They actually follow it. Geneva Convention. I've heard of it. International law governing warfare. Treatment of prisoners. Protection of civilians. Japan signed it. Never followed it. But America does. August 22nd, 1945. Train to Sapporo. The train is crowded. Refugees. Demobilized soldiers. Survivors. Everyone heading home, or what's left of home. I sit by the window, watching Hokkaido pass by. Fields, villages, mountains. Everything looks normal. But nothing is normal. We lost a war. Our country surrendered. Our emperor, who we were taught was a god, broadcast that we lost. A demobilized soldier sits across from me. Young, maybe 20. Still in uniform, but with all insignia removed. He looks hollow, defeated. Where were you stationed? I ask. Okinawa, until April. Then they evacuated us before the Americans landed. Sent us to Kyushu to prepare for the invasion. Okinawa. The battle there was catastrophic. Tens of thousands dead. Civilians throwing themselves off cliffs rather than surrender to Americans, because they believed the propaganda, believed Americans would rape, torture, kill them. What did you see? I ask. Of the Americans? He looks at me. In Okinawa? I saw them fight. They were brutal. Flamethrowers, artillery. But, he hesitates. After the surrender in Kyushu, when they came to disarm us, they were different. Professional. They treated us like soldiers, not criminals. Gave us food, medical care. Explained the terms of surrender. Did they hurt civilians? No, they had orders, strict orders, not to. General MacArthur. He told all American forces that Japanese civilians are to be protected, not harmed, not exploited. Protected. Protected. By our conquerors. Why would he do that? I ask. The soldier shrugs. I don't know. Maybe because that's how Americans fight. Maybe because MacArthur understands that you can't win peace through cruelty. Win peace. Strange phrase. August 24th, 1945. Sapporo. Home. Or what's left of it. Sapporo was bombed in July. Not as badly as Tokyo or Hiroshima, but bombed. Parts of the city are destroyed. But our neighborhood, my parents' house, it's standing. I walk up the familiar street. My legs shake. What if they're not there? What if they're dead? What if... The door opens. My mother. Older. Thinner. But alive. Akiko? She stares. Like she's seeing a ghost. Akiko! She rushes out. Embraces me. We're both crying. My father comes to the door. He's crying too. You're alive. Mama keeps saying. You're alive. We heard about Karafuto, the Soviet invasion. We thought you were dead. I almost was, I tell them. The Soviets, they attacked. I was trapped. But the Americans came. They evacuated us. They saved us. Papa looks confused. The Americans? Our enemies? Yes. They stopped the Soviets, protected us, brought us home. We go inside. The house is sparse. Everything valuable was sold or confiscated for the war effort. But it's home. Masaru? I ask. My brother. Is he... alive? Papa says. He was stationed in Tokyo. He survived. He's being demobilized. He'll come home soon. Alive. My family is alive. All of us. Against all odds, we survived. September 2nd, 1945. Japan officially signs the surrender documents on the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. General MacArthur accepts the surrender. The war is officially over. American forces begin the occupation of Japan. But it's not what anyone expected. It's not brutal, not destructive, not exploitative. It's organized, structured, almost gentle. MacArthur issues orders. SCAP, Supreme Commander for the Allied Powers. He's essentially ruling Japan now, but his orders are surprising. Japanese civilians are to be protected. Food will be provided. America will ship food to prevent starvation. War criminals will be tried. But ordinary soldiers and civilians are not to be punished. Democracy will be introduced. Women's rights will be expanded. Education will be reformed. War will be renounced in the new constitution. Women's rights. This catches everyone's attention. In Japan, women have no rights, no vote, no property rights, no legal equality. We're property, subordinate. But MacArthur's orders include women's suffrage, women's equality, women's education. I'm sitting in my parents' house when I read this in the newspaper. Is this real? I ask Papa. He reads over my shoulder. It says so. Women will be allowed to vote, hold property. Divorce. Work. Why would Americans do this? Because they believe in it, Papa says. Americans have women's rights. Have for decades. They're bringing it here. Americans believe women are equal. This is revolutionary. October 1945. I find work. Teaching again. A school in Sapporo. Most teachers were men, but many men died in the war. Schools need teachers. They're accepting women now, paying us. Equally. This is American influence. American occupation policy. Women working. Being paid. Having careers. My students are different than before. They're hungry. Everyone is hungry. American food aid helps, but there's not enough. They're traumatized. Many lost fathers, brothers, homes. They're confused about what they were taught. Was the emperor really a god? Were Americans really demons? No. To both. Tanaka sensei, one student asks. Is it true Americans are making us democratic? Yes. What does that mean? It means the people choose their leaders. Everyone votes, even women. The girls in my class look shocked. Women can vote? Yes, starting next year. Women will vote. You'll grow up in a country where women have rights. One girl raises her hand. My mother says women shouldn't vote. Says it's not proper. Says it's not Japanese. It wasn't Japanese, I tell her. But it is now. Japan is changing. We lost the war. But maybe we're gaining something too. Maybe. It's hard to see it as gain when we lost so much. But women's rights, democracy, peace, these things matter. December 1945. Masaru comes home. My little brother, not so little anymore. 21 years old, thin, hollow-eyed, traumatized. He doesn't talk about the war. Not at first. Just sits in the house, staring at nothing. Mama cooks what little food we have. Papa tries to get Masaru to help with work. Papa found a job with a construction company, rebuilding Sapporo. But Masaru can't. He's broken. One night I find him crying. We were told to fight to the death, he says. To never surrender. That death was better than surrender. That Americans would torture us, rape our women, destroy everything. It was propaganda, I tell him. I know, but we believed it. Men killed themselves rather than surrender, ordered civilians to kill themselves. At Okinawa, his voice breaks. At Okinawa, we told civilians the Americans would rape and kill them. Mothers threw their babies off cliffs, killed them, killed themselves. Families blew themselves up with grenades. Thousands of civilians. Dead. Because we told them lies. I hold my brother while he cries. It wasn't your fault. I was there. I told them. I believed it. And they died. Women, children, babies. They died because of us. I don't know what to say, because he's right. Japanese propaganda killed as many Japanese civilians as American bombs did. The Americans didn't have to be kind, Masaru continues. After what we did in China, in Korea, in the Philippines, after Pearl Harbor. They had every right to treat us the way we treated others, but they didn't. They're helping us, feeding us, rebuilding, protecting us from the Soviets. Why? Because they're better than we were, I say quietly. Masaru nods. We deserve to lose. April 1946. Elections. Japan's first democratic elections. And women can vote. I walk to the polling station with Mama. She's nervous. I don't know how to vote. I don't know who to choose. Choose whoever you think is best, I tell her. That's democracy. We stand in line. Men and women. Together. Equal. Some men look angry. This is not the Japan they knew. But it's the Japan we're becoming. I cast my ballot. For a candidate who supports education, women's rights, peace. A woman candidate. Japan has women running for office now. 39 women elected to the Diet. Unthinkable 2 years ago. I feel strange, powerful, hopeful. For the first time since the war started, I feel like maybe, we can build something better. August 1946. 1 year since Karafuto. I returned to Hakodate, the port where I arrived from Karafuto. There's a memorial now. For the civilians who died. For the soldiers who defended Maoka. For everyone we lost. I place flowers, say prayers. Remember, an American soldier approaches. Older than Corporal Wilson, maybe 30. He sees me at the memorial. Were you there? He asks. A translator helps. In Karafuto? Yes. In Myoka, during the Soviet invasion. I'm sorry, he says. I'm sorry for what happened. I'm sorry we couldn't get there faster. You came, I tell him. You stopped them. You saved us. That's what matters. He nods. Were you one of the civilians we evacuated? Yes. I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you're safe. Thank you. For everything. For protecting us. For helping rebuild Japan. I stop. How do I say this? For being better enemies than we deserved. The translator hesitates. The soldier looks uncomfortable. We're not enemies anymore, he says finally. The war's over. We're helping Japan become a democracy. Become peaceful. Become strong again. Not for conquest. For prosperity. For peace. Do you think it will work? I ask. Do you think Japan can change? He considers this. I think people can change. Countries can change. If they want to. If they try. Do you want Japan to change? Yes, I say. And I mean it. Yes. I want us to be better, to be peaceful, to be democratic, to treat women equally, to never invade another country again, to be, I search for the word, to be worthy of the help you're giving us. The soldier smiles. Then it will work, because people like you will make it work. 1950. 5 years since the war. I'm 31 now. Still teaching. Still single. Many women my age are unmarried. Too many men died in the war. But I have a career. Independence. Rights. Japan is rebuilding. Slowly. American aid. American guidance. Democratic reforms. Women voting. Land reform. Demilitarization. Education expansion. We're not perfect. Far from it. War criminals were tried. Some executed. Some imprisoned. But most ordinary Japanese like me, like my family, we're just trying to rebuild, to move forward. I think about Karafuto sometimes, about those days in August 1945, about the terror, the trauma, the confusion, about believing one thing my entire life, then discovering it was wrong. I was taught Americans were demons. I was taught to fear them more than anything. I was taught the Soviets were fellow Asians, better than Western imperialists. Everything I was taught was backwards. The Soviets, they were the ones we should have feared. They invaded without warning, broke the neutrality pact, destroyed cities, murdered civilians, raped women, treated us as less than human. The Americans, they were the ones who saved us, protected us, evacuated us, treated us with dignity, helped rebuild our country, gave us democracy, gave us rights. I was terrified of the wrong enemy, and I'm alive because the enemy I feared turned out to be better than the friend I trusted. 1960. 15 years since the war. I'm 41 now. Still teaching. I have a career I love. Students who respect me. A life I chose. Japan has recovered. Not completely. We'll never be the empire we were, but that's good. The empire was built on conquest, on cruelty, on lies. This Japan, democratic Japan, peaceful Japan, Article 9. Japan that renounces war. This is better. We're not perfect. We struggle with acknowledging what we did during the war. The atrocities, the comfort women, the massacres. Many Japanese want to forget, want to move on, want to pretend it didn't happen. I understand. It's painful to confront, but forgetting is dangerous. Forgetting allows repetition, so I teach my students the truth about the war, about the empire, about what Japan did, and about what happened to us, about Karafuto, about the Soviet invasion, about being saved by the people we were taught to hate. Why are you teaching us this, Tanaka-sensei? A student asks. Why not focus on the future? Because the future requires understanding the past, I tell her. We need to understand what we did wrong so we don't repeat it. We need to understand what others did right so we can learn from it. What did others do right? The Americans. They didn't have to help us. After everything Japan did, Pearl Harbor, Bataan, the atrocities in China, they had every right to treat us harshly. But they didn't. They helped us rebuild, taught us democracy, protected us. Why? The students don't know. Because they believed in something bigger than revenge, I tell them. They believed in peace, in democracy, in human rights, in the idea that former enemies can become friends. That's what we need to learn. That's what we need to build. One student raises her hand. But America fought the Soviet Union after fighting us. Isn't that hypocritical? Maybe. Or maybe it's complicated. The Soviets and Americans were allies against Japan and Germany. But they had different values, different ideas about government, about rights, about how to treat people. And those differences matter. Which side is right? I can only tell you what I experienced. I say, I experienced both. Soviet soldiers tried to rape me. American Marines stopped them. Soviet soldiers treated us as spoils of war. American soldiers treated us as human beings. Both were our enemies, but only one acted like it. 1970. 25 years since the war. I'm 51 now. Thinking about retirement in a few years. I've taught for over 30 years. Thousands of students. Hundreds of young women who grew up with rights I never had at their age. Japan is prosperous now. The economic miracle. We make cars, electronics, everything. We're a major economy again, but peaceful, democratic, allied with America. That's strange to think about. America, our enemy in the war, is now our ally, our protector. The U.S. military bases in Japan protect us from the Soviet Union primarily. The same Soviets who invaded Karafuto, who still control it, who never gave it back. Students sometimes ask about the war. Not often. It's ancient history to them. They weren't alive. Their parents were children. It's as distant as the Meiji Restoration is to me. But occasionally, someone asks, Tanaka-sensei, were you in the war? Yes. I was in Karafuto when the Soviets invaded. Did you see fighting? I saw the aftermath, the destruction, the victims. Were you scared? Terrified. I thought I was going to die. Or worse, what saved you? American Marines. They stopped Soviet soldiers who were attacking civilians. They evacuated us, protected us. The student looks confused. But Americans were the enemy. Yes. But they acted like friends. That's the lesson. Enemies in war don't have to be enemies forever. And allies in war don't always stay friends. What matters is how people treat each other, how they act, what they do. 1985, 40 years since the war. I'm 66 now, retired from teaching, living comfortably on my pension. Japan is wealthy, successful, peaceful. I'm invited to speak at a commemoration. 40 years since the end of World War II. They want survivors to share stories, to remember. I tell my story. Karafuto, the Soviet invasion, the terror, the near assault, the Marines arriving, the evacuation, the discovery that everything I'd been taught was wrong. After I speak, a young journalist asks questions. How do you feel about Americans now? After what they did to Japan, the bombs, the occupation. The bombs were terrible, I say. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, unimaginable horror. And the occupation was difficult. But, I pause. But the Americans also saved my life, protected me when no one else would. Helped rebuild Japan. Gave us democracy. Gave me rights I never would have had under the empire. So how do I feel? Complicated. Grateful. Angry at what was. Thankful for what came after. And the Soviets? My face hardens. The Soviets were brutal, cruel. They treated us as less than human. I will never forgive what they did. Never forget. But I also understand. War brings out the worst in people. Maybe those soldiers were responding to what Japanese forces did in their country. Maybe it was revenge. Maybe it was just chaos. I don't know. But I know what I experienced. And I know which army I'd rather have faced. Do you have any regrets? Yes. I regret that we started the war. That we invaded China, Korea, Southeast Asia. That we caused so much suffering. That we made so many enemies. That we forced Americans to bomb our cities and Soviets to invade our territories. I regret that I believed the propaganda, that I didn't question, that I didn't resist. I regret that it took losing a war for us to become democratic. But, I pause, but I don't regret surviving. I don't regret that Americans saved me. And I don't regret the Japan we became after losing. 2000. 55 years since the war. I'm 81 now. Old. My body aches. My memory isn't what it was. But I'm alive. I survived. Masaru is gone. Cancer took him 15 years ago. Mama and Papa died in the 80s. I'm the last of my immediate family. The last who remembers what we were before. What we became after. The Cold War is over. The Soviet Union collapsed. Russia is different now. Still not friendly. Still controlling the islands they took from Japan. Still not giving back Karafuto. But not the same threat. And America. Still our ally. Still with military bases here. Still our protector. Still, after all these years, the enemy that became a friend. I think about Corporal Wilson sometimes, the young Marine who offered me a handkerchief, who treated me like a human being when I expected violence. I wonder if he's alive. He'd be in his 70s now, like me. I wonder if he remembers that night in Mauka. Probably not. It was probably routine for him. Just another rescue. Another evacuation. But for me, it was everything. It was the moment I realized the world was more complex than propaganda taught, that enemies can be kind, that allies can be cruel, that what matters isn't who's on which side, but how they treat human beings. 2003. My last testimony. I'm 84 now, dying, cancer. Same as Masaru. The doctor gives me months, maybe a year. A historian contacts me. Young man, researching the Soviet invasion of Karafuto. He wants my story. For the record, before I'm gone, I tell him everything. Karafuto, the invasion, the hiding, the assault, the Marines, the evacuation, everything. Why do you think Americans acted that way? He asks. Why did they protect Japanese civilians? I've had 58 years to think about this. Because they had rules. I say finally. Laws. Something called the Geneva Convention. The laws of war. They actually followed them. Not perfectly. No one does in war. But they tried. And their leaders, MacArthur especially, he enforced those rules. Soldiers who violated them were punished. That makes a difference. And the Soviets? The Soviets had different rules. Or no rules. Or rules they didn't follow. I don't know. But the result was different. Very different. Which side was right? In the war, I think about this. Japan was wrong, clearly. We invaded. We conquered. We committed atrocities. We started the war. We deserved to lose. But losing to Americans versus losing to Soviets, that made all the difference. If the Soviets had occupied all of Japan instead of just the islands, I don't know what would have happened. Probably something like North Korea. Dictatorship. Poverty. Oppression. But Americans occupied us, and we became democratic. Prosperous. Free. So who was right? Japan was wrong. America was less wrong. That's the best I can say. Do you have any message for the future? Yes. Remember that propaganda is lies. Both sides lie in war. Question what you're taught, and remember that enemies can become friends, that peace is possible, that democracy matters, that women's rights matter, that how you treat people, even your enemies, that matters most of all. Anything else? I think about Corporal Wilson, about that handkerchief, about that moment when an enemy showed more humanity than a friend did. Yes. Remember that the enemy you fear might not be the one you should fear, and the one you trust might not be trustworthy. Pay attention to actions, not words. Watch how people treat the powerless. That tells you everything. I die 3 months later. Peacefully. In my sleep. In Sapporo. In democratic Japan. In the country that lost a war and gained a future. My obituary is short. Tanaka Akiko, 84. Retired teacher, survivor of Karafuto invasion. Advocate for peace education. It doesn't mention the Marines. Doesn't mention Corporal Wilson. Doesn't mention that moment when I realized everything I believed was wrong. But I remembered. For 58 years I remembered. And I told the story. To students. To historians. To anyone who would listen. Because that story matters. That moment matters. The moment when the wrong army arrived and turned out to be the right one. When enemies acted like friends and friends acted like enemies. When propaganda shattered and reality emerged. I was a Japanese woman. I was terrified when Americans arrived. Terrified because I believed the propaganda, believed they would hurt me, rape me, kill me. But they didn't. They protected me. From the Soviets who actually did those things. From the army I trusted but shouldn't have. And I lived. Survived. Thrived. In a Japan that lost a war but gained democracy. That was defeated but was rebuilt. That had the right enemy occupy it. I was terrified until Marines stopped the Soviets. And then I understood. Finally understood. That the enemy I feared was my salvation. And the friend I trusted was my nightmare. That's the truth propaganda hides. That's the lesson we must never forget. Author's note. The Soviet invasion of Karafuto, southern Sakhalin, and the Kuril Islands began August 9, 1945, violating the Soviet-Japanese neutrality pact. Soviet forces attacked Japanese territories even after Japan's surrender on August 15th. An estimated 400,000-plus Japanese civilians and soldiers were in these territories. The Soviet offensive was marked by numerous atrocities against Japanese civilians, including mass rapes, murders, and looting. U.S. forces did conduct some evacuation operations in the region, though coordination between Soviet and American forces was limited and tense. The treatment of Japanese civilians by occupying Soviet forces in Manchuria, Korea, and captured Japanese territories contrasted sharply with American occupation policy in mainland Japan, where General MacArthur implemented strict rules against mistreatment of civilians. This story represents the experiences of Japanese civilians caught between two very different occupying forces at the end of WQ. This is history's uncomfortable truth. Not all liberators are equal. Subscribe to hear the stories that challenge simple narratives. Like if this changed your perspective on WQ. Comment below. Did you know about the Soviet invasion of Japanese territories? What other untold stories of WQ should be remembered? Share this video because complexity matters. Because all sides of history matter. Because the truth is never as simple as propaganda claims. Never forget. Always question. Keep learning.